Just as the squad have to gear up for more games in September, so do we here at Hoops and Dreams. So this is our second production in September, the two being separated by the international break. So we're back again to view our last few matches, look ahead to the next ones coming up, and discuss the odd topic or two. Of course, I couldn't do this by myself, but then it would be a monologue, and that would never do. And so that's why I have at least one podcast guest, and this one is, well, we've had somebody from Australia before. In fact, we had two people from Australia. We have one person living in France, but I think this is our first podcast with anybody from the USA. Welcome to you, Zeke.
Thank you very much. I'm very happy to be here.
Right, for those who don't know, and that's almost like everybody else, Zeke is at Indiana University, which is in Bloomington. But I do not know whether you're studying or teaching or whatever there, Zeke.
Yeah, so I'm a student here at Indiana. I study sports media. So I cover several teams across campus and do a little live commentary as well.
So am I right in thinking, though, that you're not from there? You're from California?
Yeah, so I'm originally from Los Angeles.
Uh-huh.
My mom is from Indiana, and my brother and sister both went here, so I just sort of joined the caravan out here.
Yeah, it's a family firm. Yeah, okay. I think we should mention that Zeke's support of QPR stems from. Actually, you can tell them, Zeke. How
Yeah,
did you become?
so I had never watched the sport in my life. And then in about 2016, I was flipping through channels on television one day, and I stopped on a game and I saw a team with an acronym for their name wearing these blue and white jerseys, or shirts, as you would say. And I'd never seen a team wear a jersey like that. I'd never seen a team with an acronym. So I dove right in, looked up everything there was to look up, and 7 years later, I'm waking up at 7 a.m. to watch the games.
Yeah, okay. This all may sound odd to some people, but at the Sunderland match recently, I was sitting alongside a large Swedish gentleman who was there just for the weekend, just to see the R's play. He started off supporting QPR after seeing them on one of those rare glimpses of UK television showing one of the top matches, and he liked what he saw, and so he became a QPR supporter. So it's not that different from you, to be quite honest.
Yeah, it's been a good time, and it was great. It was great to actually go to England several years ago and see them play live. That was just one of the best experiences I've ever had.
Did they win?
So it was Boxing Day 2016, and we got beaten 3-0 by the future champions Brighton, but it was a great experience, and it was sort of the way it went that season, but it was a once in a lifetime experience, and my goal is to go back out there and see them again.
That's good. That's good. Okay. Let's do a quick review of the last three matches, which I know that you've been watching. QPR against Sunderland, which is the one I referred to earlier on, where we lost 3-1. And QPR against Swansea, which was the midweek one, and we drew that 1-1. And then we had Birmingham against QPR on Friday, and we drew that 1-0. So those league results translate into 2 points out of a possible 9, and resulted in us ending up 18th in the league on 8 points. These are not the results we've been hoping for after such a good team performance before. I think many expected the team performances to be translated into wins. What do you think, Zeke?
To be honest, it was pretty expected. I always try to be optimistic. I knew what to expect with the Sunderland match, and I was actually pretty satisfied with the way that game started until Jack Colback had an incident. I thought the referee was a bit unfair to us throughout that game, but that was sort of expected. The Swansea match, I think we got a bit unlucky. the goal that they scored, I felt shouldn't have been allowed with the handball, but then again, we controlled the ball in the second half. So I thought we should have put at least one or two in, more than Linden's goal. And it was just sort of frustrating because that we've never really been able to have that finishing ability this season. And I thought against Birmingham, it was as frustrating as the game last season when Linden had a penalty saved against Birmingham.
Yeah.
And so it was just the same show again, I guess, just unable to finish scoring chances. Osmir was great. The back line was great, but just going forward, it's always been a problem for us this season. And I was a bit surprised that we played well in those games, but I was also pretty disappointed that we couldn't get more from them.
Yeah, I can't argue with that, Zeke. I mean, we were one up against Sunderland, as you point out, and then Jack Colback getting sent off for that red card. And he was a diabolical referee. There's no getting away from it. From that point on, it was 10-man QPR against 11-man Sunderland plus the referee. So perhaps it was inevitable that we were going to concede a goal. And then, as Gareth Ainsworth, his substitutions really made it quite plain he was going for a win. And when you do that, you can leave yourself horribly exposed. And we ended up losing 3-1. I'm not to say he was wrong on that, but it is risky. And the midweek game against Swansea was really just a scrappy affair, where QPR were just chasing a draw after conceding, as you say, that really soft goal early on in the game. It was really, really poor. So I expected to win that one. I never expected a win or even a draw for the Birmingham match. So to get that draw and a clean sheet was rather a bonus. Rather than beating Swansea, we elected to try and beat a good side like Birmingham, which is typical QPR, do it the hard way. You have to admire Gareth for his positivity and his ambition. It was a hard-fought but deserved draw. And I guess we should feel smug. Well, I certainly feel smug because I predicted a 0-0 draw in the Hoops and Dreams prediction competition. So I got it right. That brings us on to our next three fixtures. QPR against Coventry. That's on Saturday. They've done reasonably well, but they're aside for drawing for some strange reason. Leeds against QPR. They've done much better than us. They're on 10th position with a mixture of wins and draws. And QPR against Blackburn on Saturday, the 7th of October. And that one is against the team that's above Leeds at the moment. Blackburn are 9th, and there's more a record of win, lose, lose. So they're sort of, their star is turning, one hopes anyway. So coming back to Coventry, Zig, what do you reckon? Win, draw, or loss?
Well, with the way Coventry's been playing, I guess everyone's expecting a draw. They sort of played to the level of their opposition. They went from drawing with Sunderland 0-0 to then drawing with Watford 3-3. So I think if we go in unintimidated and play the way that we played against Borough, against Cardiff, then I think we have a good chance. But I expect a draw out of that match, but I feel like with the way we've been playing going forward, and especially things changing within the side, I feel like we can get a win there. I think the Coventry are a decent team, but this season, especially recently, they really haven't been playing up to what they were to end last season. So I expect a positive showing out of us and hopefully the 3 points.
Yeah, that makes sense. What about Leeds versus QPR? So it's an away match again, where we seem to be doing better.
Yeah, I hope that we play the team that drew with Sheffield Wednesday 0-0 instead of the one that beat Millwall 3-0 or Watford 3-0. But they're a strong side. But as we've seen before this season, we always try to play our hardest against the best teams. So not expecting much from that match, but the way that this team operates, I wouldn't be surprised if we got a point or 3 points out of it, because that seems to be the name of the game with this team, of just playing to the level of the opposition. But realistically, I'm not really expecting anything from that match.
Okay, come on, let's try you on Blackburn then.
So Blackburn, as you said, they started this season really well. And I think recently their run of form has been going down a little bit. And that's what we saw last season. They were winning and losing last season, no draws. This season it's been sort of the same. But they always seem to start the season very fast and then sort of waver off. So I'm hoping that we catch them on a downward roll. And that's a match where I also expect us to draw. So out of those 9 points, I'm expecting hopefully 6, but at least one win and one draw in that mix.
I see. That's interesting. Yeah, I was at the home game against Coventry in April, last season, and for once I was in the hospitality area. However, all that dining and special attention was negated by us losing so comprehensively. So I want revenge. We have a poor home record, and this is the one that we must win. That's for me. Leeds and Blackburn, they are going to be tough matches, and I feel one of those we will lose and one will draw. But in all honesty, I have no idea which match will get which result. So we'll have to go on that. So I'm going to go with 4 points on that, I think. We'll see anyway. I hope you're right with yours. I really would like to get a bit more. Okay, on to topics. Whilst many of us in the UK struggle sometimes to get to fixtures to support the R's, at least we are often able to get there when there's no rail strikes or whatever. I know you mentioned that you've been across once to see a game at Loftus Road, but how hard is it to follow the R's from so far away?
So it's definitely more difficult than following the teams that I support just in American sports. Up until I came to Indiana, it was definitely more of a struggle because the game started so early in the morning, and especially on weekends. So I'd have to try to sleep through the game. So I couldn't deal with the stress, but I follow the team on all the social media. I go through social media when the game is going on, and I watch the games through the app and through the website of the team. It's definitely different though. I have friends who also follow teams abroad, and we watch the games together, and it's not too difficult to follow them in recent years. But when I first started following them, it was really hard to watch the games. But once every month, they'll show the games on ESPN. Actually, they show a handful of games on the streaming service for ESPN, and the Birmingham match on Friday. Yeah. We saw it was on ESPN Plus, and my friend is actually a Birmingham City supporter, so we both watched the game together, which was a pretty fun time. And the reason he started supporting them was he's from a city called Birmingham. So
Alabama.
He was just like, I'm just going to support them. Why not? So
yeah, that's good enough reason.
Yeah, pretty fair. And it's not as difficult to follow the team as it used to be, and the community is great. And I'm just excited every Saturday morning to turn on the TV and hopefully we get a good performance.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, you said that you've got an awful lot of online presence during the games and before and after, presumably as well. So in the state of Indiana, do you know if there's any other QPR fans? Do you ever is there a supporters group there, for example?
So there isn't. And the only time that I've ever seen a QPR fan in America, I was at USA World Cup qualifying match, and there was just some guy wearing a QPR hat, and I just tapped him and just gave a surprised look. He was like, It's like, wow, there's somebody else. There's somebody else in this country who actually does support them. But there aren't too many fans of the sport, and so I think it's a lot harder to find QPR fans. But I know that back in Los Angeles, there's definitely a bigger group of football fans, but still haven't met the one that supports QPR. But hopefully one day.
Good. I hope that you end up starting up your own supporters group. So let's go on to another topic then. If you look at the Hoops and Dreams site, you would have seen admiration that Osman Kakai has progressed from his early age through the club's development sides, and he's made his way all the way to the first team. Which is pretty commendable. That said, you would equally see that he's defending at right back, and even as a right-sided player for the three centre-backs, is often not enough against some wily wingers. Stanfeld last with Birmingham was a good example, I think. Last Wednesday, after all the fans thought we were done with the transfer market, rumours in the media suggested that the signing of a free agent called Reggie Cannon was in the pipeline, and he is the USA's right back, so international. He's 25 years old, apparently rather nippy up the wings, so I'm told, and he must be presumed to be a good defender, otherwise he wouldn't be an international status player. As we record this episode, the club has failed to confirm his arrival, and we are left wondering what is going on. But if this does go ahead, is it a good move, Zake?
I think it is a good signing. And I think you're spot on about Kakai. It's commendable that he's been at the club so long, and we all love seeing him try as hard as he can out there. But what I've seen so far from him this season, if Paul Smith is not at his absolute best, then that side is a complete liability defensively and a complete liability going forward.
Yeah.
When you watch Osman play, and he's sort of, when he has the ball, he's taking heavy touches. He's looking down at his feet to make sure the ball is still there. And if the option isn't there within 10 yards for him, then you can see he just sort of stops on a dime, doesn't know what to do, and gets the ball taken away. But Reggie is a very solid player. He came up in the FC Dallas Academy, which is one of the most premier academies in the United States. And he actually went to college two or 3 miles away from my house. So that's very cool to see. And he's a solid player. He went to Boa Vista, and we're pretty lucky to have him, because the reason he left was because he wasn't getting paid on time.
Yeah.
So that's solid that we have him, but we definitely need more presence going forward. And that right side has just been a complete liability. And if, Paul Smith, you saw go off, I think he took a knock last match against Birmingham, and I saw Doma out there, and I was just terrified that side was the dynamic tandem of Albert Doma and Osman Kakai. I was terrified, but Doma played pretty well.
And I think did some good crosses, I have to say, though.
But I think with Osman, there needs to be some form of competition, because, he's not a guy that should be playing 90 minutes every single week. And having that competition in there for him, and maybe seeing if Reggie can bring more out of him. But it's definitely a good signing in terms of our attack, and seeing him as a defender is definitely a lot better. He's played against very good opposition in the past.
Yeah, I'd say he sounds. I mean, assuming it's all going to go ahead. I mean, I'm guessing that this is something to do with getting international papers sorted out, or sort of some objection from the original club. Who knows? But eventually we'll get this through, I'm sure. And assuming we don't give up on this, I'm delighted to have him here. And exactly as you were saying, whilst I expect Smith to continue tracking back to defend, I'm hoping that now I feel a bit more comfortable about taking on opponents, knowing that Reggie Cannon is behind him. And you're right. It also will give a bit of a competition on the right back, and we'll, perhaps because of that, we'll see even better things from Osman. We'll see. And I also hope it means that Aaron Drew will get out for a full season on loan in a lower league, and he'll gain valuable match experience, because I think there is a really good player in there as well. Right. Well, let's see. We've got a bit of time, so I'm going to go on to the last topic. do you feel or even believe we will finish any higher than 19th or 20th? If so, why, Zeke?
Well, the quote unquote analysts all off season were telling us how we were going to finish dead last and be in the cellar the entire year. And obviously it hasn't been like that. We've played very well defensively, which I didn't expect very well. And the new signings have also been positive. To be honest, I was actually sort of hoping that we finished 19th or 20th. I think us being in 18th right now is pretty good. But I think with the way the table is turning out, I think there are teams that are worse than us. Wednesday, Rotherham, Swansea, those are teams that I definitely think are going down. And it's really going to come down to if we can finish higher than Stoke or Coventry. But, Borough is rising. That win, I think, is going to propel them up the table. I think if we are going to finish above 19th or 20th, we need to start scoring goals. I mean, it has been such a nightmare to score, and we barely get scoring chances because we barely control possession.
Yeah.
And during the Swansea match, during the Birmingham match, I think we were surprised to have so much of the ball. And it almost looked like when we had the ball, we were just telling ourselves, put it in the box, put it in the box. Something's going to happen if we just put it there. And, it took a great header by Linden to get in front of the defender and put the header in. But I think if we're going to finish higher than 19th or 20th, Gareth needs to implement a style of play that's a little bit more organized, because this sort of run and gun offense of, the second you have the ball, just start sending it and start moving forward. It's frustrating to watch us. Obviously we're not going to have that much of the ball, but we should have some of the ball. we should actually control some possession. But the way that we're playing at the minute, I see us finishing around 19th or 20th, and I don't really see us going above that. But, maybe with Reggie, maybe he comes in and provides a spark that gets us scoring more. But,
you might be right.
Yeah.
Maybe it could be crosses that's the problem. But equally, I don't think we're getting through the middle that well either. And the finishing, as you quite rightly point out, is a problem. It really, really is. In the post Watford glimmer, when we saw the teams gel and play with a purpose, which they are still doing, in all fairness, I rashly predicted a squeaky 12th place. That prediction seems rather optimistic now, but I equally don't see us bouncing around the relegation zone all season. So I just hope that I'm right. And we do get something out of this season, because this is a rebuilding season. Once we get FFP restrictions out of the way, I think we would be in a much better position. Anyway, all this pain. Anyway, our time is up now, and all that remains is for me to thank my guest, Zeke, for joining me all the way from Indiana, I should say, specifically Bloomington. My editor, Dave, whose laptop thankfully survived a dousing by his son, and they're still talking to each other. And you all of you, for watching. Do click on subscribe if you're watching this on our YouTube channel, and do add a comment or two below. We'd love to hear from you. I'm Brian Fisher, and this has been a Hoops and Dreams QPR podcast. Come on, you R's!
We know who we are. You know who we are. We are QPR.